Kenneth Gainwell, this is pathetic, man. This is pathetic. I get it. The fan was wrong for even DMing you this, right? But you don't respond to this during halftime. Allegedly, Kenneth Gainwell is responding to fans' DMs that's criticizing them during the game. Again, the fan went too far. But bro, if this is true, not sure if this is true or not, you don't want to have your phone out during halftime responding to fans. Seriously, dude? Seriously? This is Eagle Owl, and today I will be talking about the Eagles escaping with the win against Washington. Also, we're going to talk about the Batmans. Yes, the Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown breaking Megatron record. We're going to talk about the negatives too, but let's get straight into it. All right, so let's get straight into it, man. Let's just talk about the negatives, man. It was a lot of things like that were bad this game. But before I even get into that, great fight by the Commanders. It was a great fight. 38-31. We did bring out the broom on y'all. We had to do it, you know. We needed that win. Y'all needed that loss to blow up that team. It's going to be interesting what the Commanders do. But again, great fight by the Commanders. Closer than a lot of people thought. We got the win. So we kept the main thing, as Jalen Hurts said. Sometimes we got to win ugly, right? But it seemed like we've been saying that a lot this year. So let's get into the negatives. Offense, not too much negatives, but the love of Kenneth Gainwell. Y'all know me. Coming into the season, yes. I knew Kenneth Gainwell was going to be the starter, which he started week 1. He came in, he was decent week 1. But there's been a downhill and a downhill and a downhill. Like, he fumbled at the goal line, and then the Eagles feed him going into the next drive. That doesn't even make sense. Which he was okay the next drive when he was getting fed in the passing game, but he was terrible running the ball. That's benchable offenses. I know that's not a word, but you deserve to be benched. You cost us points. I mean, that and the bad snap by Jason Kelsey, which we're going to get one of those at least once or twice a year, that's 14 points off of turnovers in the red zone. And I was like, okay, at least that taught Brian Johnson a lesson. I'm trying to think of the positives of it. Like, well, maybe Brian Johnson, will let Kenneth Gainwell take the back seat after this, and this dude features some more. It makes no sense. I don't get it. Trust me, I love Kenneth Gainwell going into the season because the things he did during the playoffs. But sometimes you got to be realistic. Kenneth Gainwell's not the guy. He's not the guy. He's not even a number 2. Even the little of Boston Scott I seen, I'm like, Boston Scott definitely deserves more playing time. And I get what Nick Sirianni's trying to say when he said in the press conference, he was like, yo, it was weeks where AJ Brown fumbled 3 straight times, or when Jalen Hurts threw an interception, do we just automatically bench them? I get it, having confidence in your guy, and that's what a coach's supposed to say. But the eye tests tell you, like, maybe you should give somebody else a shot. For real. Maybe you should give somebody else a shot. And I just don't simply get the Kenneth Gainwell thing, in my opinion. Now, the defensive side of the ball, the negatives on the defensive side of the ball, the back 7, I should say. You could tell it was a lot of mix up because it felt like it was bad communication. I mean, I get you want to get Eli Ricks and Sidney Brown in, but at some point you got to make a choice. Like, okay, you got Sidney Brown in on first and second downs, sometimes even third, depending on how close the Washington Commanders are close to the marker. But then you sub in Eli Ricks for obvious passing downs, and I don't know, man. You got to stick with one or the other, which both didn't play bad. I mean, Sidney Brown, you would say he gave up a touchdown. Like the casual watched that, like, yo, Sidney Brown left his guy wide open. But a guy that really watches football was like, yo, he was expecting the safety over the top. So both played well. Eli Ricks actually looked like the best corner out there between everybody, in my opinion. But to me, with that slot position, you got to make a choice who's going to be the primary guy. I didn't like the mix up. I hate they even do that with the running backs on the offensive side of the ball. Got to make a choice at the slot corner position. Get it? You're trying to make everybody happy, but you got to make a choice. And if I was to make a choice right now, I probably would give it to Eli Ricks. Just keep Eli Ricks there. And when he need a breather, then you bring in like a Sidney Brown. Both played really well. Sidney Brown showed he's that hard hitter. Trust me, Terry McLaurin's going to feel that one. That hit he took by Sidney Brown the next morning. But Eli Ricks, again, did really well besides the PI. I think he was solid. He was definitely solid. So, yeah, man, they got to make a choice there. I know I asked a question on Twitter, and I can't believe it's going viral, but it is what it is. I just said, is it time to give up on Darius Slay and James Bradbury? Like, maybe we should have just brought in some young guys to see what they can do, because the thing, what it is Slay. Slay looked like he's transitioning, like he's not that number one guy anymore. Like he should be a number two. Bradbury looking like he probably should be somebody backup. And we should have let the younger guys eat, or sign a young guy, or trade for a younger guy. Because again, Slay just looked like he lost his step. He do. And people like, y'all wasn't saying that last game, this and that. I'm telling you, people were saying that last game. Like, Slay, like, the reason why backing is holding up against the Miami Dolphins is because that D line was getting to Tua so fast. But we seen, like, when Jalen Carter's dealing with some, you seen Jordan Davis wasn't 100%. And the Washington was getting the ball out of Sam Howell's hands fast. It somewhat exposed how bad JB, James Bradbury, and Darius Slay is. It really exposed them, man. Safeties, Kevin Byard, it's like, okay, even though he said in his press conferences, no excuses.
Honestly, first couple of days kind of feeling, myself out, but just kind of understanding, there's a certain standard that we need to have as DBs, period. And I think that we didn't live up to that standard today, honestly. We won. It's great that we won. I'm happy that we won. But I just think as a whole, and that's something we're going to talk about this week, we have to practice harder. We have to meet better. We have to do all those things to make sure that we're giving ourselves a great chance to win games.
Kevin, is someone coming in from...
But I look at it like, he's trying to get the playbook down, and it's his first time playing in the Eagles uniform under a new system. He still got to get it down packed. So it's hard for me to put blame on him. Besides the Reed Blankenship interception, he was burnt toast. He was definitely burnt toast. But speaking of burnt toast, man, James Bradbury, since week one, I'm telling you, since week one, it's been bad. James Bradbury looked like he's done. It's been burnt toast. But he did almost come up with a pick six, and I felt like a year or two ago, James Bradbury catches that, but he's looking done. Look done. And it's hard for me to blame Sean Desai coaching if the players are there, but just getting beat, or the Washington just running the simple slant route. Then you got James Bradbury or Slay chasing them 5 to 10 yards behind them. It's like, yo, we that bad in that back end? Man. And I guess also a negative, and it's an injury, is JC. Jalen Carter's dealing with a back injury. He's going to get an MRI today. But man, I'm telling you, man, our corners literally look old. They look old, man. All right, so let's talk about the positives of this game. The positives. Jalen Hurts, man. over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. I know the fumble is going to count against him, but it was more of a bad snap than the Jalen Hurts fumble, but it's going to be on his stat sheet. So we almost got the flawless Jalen Hurts game. Offense was almost flawless, bad enough. We basically coughed up 14 points. So, well, we should have had a 50 burger against them with the bad snap and the Kenneth Gainwell fumble. But other than that, man, the offense was really, really good. AJ Brown, what? Couldn't be stopped. Simply couldn't be stopped at all. Every pass that went to him, caught. Jalen Hurts was literally 15 of 15 when targeting Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Devontae Smith literally almost had 100 yards. I wish they would have just thrown him a bubble screen for a yard. But yeah, 7 catches and 99 yards. We know AJ Brown beat Megatron record. Also, I know Dallas Goedert numbers don't look up to par like 100 or 80 yard game, but he caught some crucial catches, man. He definitely did, definitely off of play actions and stuff like that. So DeAndre Swift was good when he got his opportunities. And I know a lot of people gonna attack Brian Johnson for the lack of run game, but in my opinion, hate to say this, but I think I'm on Brian Johnson's side. I get why he didn't run the ball as much, but when you got a dynamic guy like that, you got to feature him. It felt like a shootout game, and Jalen Hurts was cooking. So I get why he was throwing the ball like that. But at the same time, you do want to mix it up a little more. I believe this game we should have went pass heavy. It was one of those games to go pass heavy, especially when your two outside guys are cooking. So I know a lot of people was gonna knock Brian Johnson for like, yo, why didn't he run the ball more? I'm in my head, I'm like, I get it when Devontae Smith and AJ Brown doing what they doing. Why run the ball? You know? And then you got the other team scoring on your defense, so you got to shoot it out with these dudes. Funny how the NFL work. We slowed down one of the best offense, and then can't stop Sam Howell. Makes no sense. We stopped Tua and Tyreek Hill, but can't stop Sam Howell. Makes no sense. But again, if they shooting it out with your defense and your defense can't stop a nosebleed, you gotta shoot it out with them. Simple as that, in my opinion. And I believe Brian Johnson did the right thing by throwing the ball a lot. But when you decide to run, don't be your first option. It's like, let's give it to Kenneth Gainwell. No, you got to give it to DeAndre Swift, in my opinion. What else was good on the offensive side of the ball? I mean, O-line held up really well. I actually like Tyler Steen better than Suopeta. We got to see when the All-22 come out. But I felt like Suopeta was getting picked on a bit. But when he got hurt and Tyler Steen came in, it felt like Jalen Hurts had more time in the pocket. Let me know if you guys seen that. It felt like Tyler Steen was better than Suopeta. My opinion. Just my simple opinion. All right, so defensive side, the positives is not too many positives, you know. The pick was really positive. The Hassan Reddick sack was really positive, but there's nothing really much to talk about positive on the defensive side. The play calling was okay, because again, it's hard for me to go after the play calling when you mixing and matching guys, and then when players are in the right positions, but the receivers are too fast. I seen one play where Nakobe Dean looked like he was standing still, and the play was going over his head. Nakobe Dean is still struggling in coverage. I think it got to a point where damn near Nakobe Dean got benched, and they brought in Murrow, if I'm not mistaken, for quite a bit of time. But then Nakobe Dean came back in, but not to harp bad on Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean looked like he's a really good run stopper, which is ironic because when I was watching Nakobe Dean, I'm like, oh, he could get sideline to sideline. It looked like he can really cover. But since he got playing time, he's been a liability in coverage, in my opinion. Not saying not just to pick on him because the linebackers in general wasn't that great. But yeah, not too much to really talk about positive. I mean, Josh Sweat, the D line in there in general was getting there. The D line was getting there, but Sam Howell was getting the ball out of his hands so quick it was hard for them to record sacks. That's why Hassan Reddick only got the only sack of the game. But it was really hard for like Josh Sweat and those dudes to get there, or like a Milton Williams, or even Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter almost got there. Special teams was positive. I mean, Brandon Mann looked really, really good punting the ball. Covey had one hell of a return till he ran into his own man's. It looked like he was going to take one to the house, but he literally ran into his own guy. But yeah, special teams was great. Quarterback was great. The receivers were great. Defense came off one of their best games against the Dolphins, then just shat the bed against the Washington. But I will say this about divisional games. I always say this. Division games are so tricky, right? So I looked at ours, and then there was another division game that came on next, or at the same time. I think it was at the same time. It was the Chiefs and it was the Denver Broncos. Now, we all know the Denver Broncos been one of the worst teams in the NFL. They held the Chiefs into 9 points. So that's why, again, I would say you can judge the division games, but don't be too critical about them because we're talking about a team that plays you twice a year, who's amped up. Like literally, Ron Rivera said this is the game of the year. Whereas we probably came into the game like, yeah, let's just beat these guys and get it over with. Washington's looking at this as the game of the year because they don't want to get swept by the Eagles. Like I'm using Denver and the Chiefs as an example. Chiefs been beating the Denver Broncos since 2015. I mean, something's got to give, right? So again, division games can be very tricky. Like when we play the Giants and you see how bad they've been, I expect a dogfight. That's what happened with division games. That's what happened. So again, don't be overly critical of this game. You know, we showed we could compete with the best of the best when we had Miami. Not only we play the Cowboys next, but their division game too. So I expect that one to be close as well. And I expect it to be close as well. So, but hey man, what do you think and how do you feel about the game? This is probably gonna be one of my longest videos because it was a lot to uncover, you know, as an initial reaction. I believe our defense will step up. This is one of the better games from Jalen Hurts. Of course, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Everybody was basically happy on the sideline. It was good to see them that way, happy, smiling, and laughing, instead of fussing with each other. You know, everybody ate. Literally, everybody ate in their own way. I know Goddard, again, 38 to 40 yards, but they were good yards, you know. DeAndre Swift got a touchdown. Smitty got a touchdown. AJ got 2 touchdowns. Like everybody looked really, really good, especially on the offensive side. Defense, you know, y'all need to buckle up. Definitely need to buckle up. But this is Eagle Al, man. I'm